What's up, NZers, and welcome back to episode 2 of our podcast.
Wow.
So what a reaction we had to our very first podcast episode.
We were blown away, actually. How many views?
Over 60,000 views.
On our first video.
On a brand new channel.
On a new channel.
That is unbelievable.
That's insane.
Thank you guys to all those who listened to the previous episode. And if you haven't actually checked that out, make sure you go and check it out. It's all about my health battles that I've had over the years and about our upcoming trip to America.
Yeah.
So it should be a lot of fun. And also, number 2. So what's episode 2 about?
Episode 2. So we kind of went back and forth about what to record for episode 2, right?
Yeah.
And we were like,
a little bit of ping pong going on.
Yeah. So we were like, why don't we go back to what was the real reason we started YouTube, like in the first place?
Yeah.
How did we even get here?
How did your New Zealand family come about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what was the whole start of it? And, you know, when I see people's stories, I always want to know, like, so how did you even get to this point?
Yeah. What's the origin story? It's
Yeah.
like a good, we're not calling ourselves superheroes, but it's like when you look at the movies, you want to see, I wonder how that guy's story started.
Exactly.
You know, I wonder where they came from.
Yeah, because we tossed up about doing a few other things, which we will still do.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, if this was me wanting to know the story, I'd be like, take me back. How did you get here? Why are you even your New Zealand family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think as a good little segue from the last episode, again, like we said, we had such an awesome reaction to the first episode. If you guys are wanting a little update, my health is doing better. I am definitely improving. I'm still improving. And I mean, the trip to America is looking like it's just going to be
Oh my gosh.
so much fun. And we are so excited. 7 weeks to go from today.
Yeah. So I said to Sam the other day, I was like, I actually get like full body tingles every time I think about it. Like it's actually quite emotional. I'm not going to lie.
So our suitcases just arrived the other day.
I
Our new
ordered new
suitcases.
suitcases.
Yep.
I had a good suitcase. No one else did.
No.
And I could have just used mine, but I was like, nah, we got to be matching.
Yeah. Yeah,
We do, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I was like picturing the photo of us like, honestly, okay.
Yeah. No,
I'm
I know.
out of this world excited. There's just nothing
Yeah.
that compares to this feeling
No.
of knowing that I'm going to see the world for the first time.
Yes. So you have all these these visions in your head of what to expect, and
Yeah.
it's probably going to be, so much better than what you even
I
can
hope
think of.
so, because I'm just so excited.
Yeah. So we can't wait. 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
Unreal.
It's going to go so fast.
I know. It's going to be amazing.
Like, I don't want to be stressed,
Yeah.
but I also just want to leave.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So I think to start today's episode, again, we like to be sort of relevant and relatable to everybody. So, you know, obviously, I think last week's one was just so well accepted because there are so many people out there with like conditions and health
Totally.
concerns and
Yeah.
things that they go through and have to like put up with on a daily basis. And
I also think like on the outer, you can look at someone and be like, oh man, their life is so perfect, especially
looks
with
good.
social media.
yeah.
Everything's a highlight reel, as we all know.
Yeah.
But to have these like really relatable topics.
When you pull the
is-
curtain back a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, man, we're all battling here.
Yeah.
We're all the same. We've all
Definitely.
got stuff that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
I reckon our origin story is just the same.
Yeah.
It's going to be so relatable to everyone.
Yeah. So stick around because we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. So we're probably going to start the episode off from around the time where we both, because we're both the same age. So we're going to start off from around the time that we both started sort of working and beginning our professional career. And that kind of, you know, that all sort of leads us up to this point where we are right now, becoming
Right.
full-time YouTubers.
Right.
And we're going to leave our childhood stories and our early life and our life story, I guess the origin story to our actual life. We'll leave that for another episode.
Yeah, because Sam's got some interesting stories.
Yeah, pretty crazy life.
Yeah.
Pretty
he
crazy
really does.
story. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know. Do you, with the health stuff, we started with you. So why don't we start with you today?
Okay.
On the professional side of things.
Right. So if we're talking about employment fully, like from the age of, not going to lie, 10 to 12, I always knew that I wanted to be a photographer.
Early passion.
Really, really young. And I just knew. It was like, that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person, I know I want to do something, I'm going to go and do it.
Yeah.
I just do
Gotta
it.
get it done.
I just get it done. And so, yeah, so I was homeschooled my entire childhood, so never stepped foot in a school.
Wow.
It's at this point that
Total opposite to me.
that most people go, Ah. So that's why.
That explains everything.
Yeah. And I'm like, explains what though? Like, what does that explain? Never heard an answer. However, that was my schooling years. And from there, I was really clear what I wanted to do. So I went, I guess I was a bit ahead. I was homeschooled. It's really easy to get ahead when you're homeschooled. And I sat fifth form, or I don't even know what year they call it these days. Like,
goodness.
we're too old for that.
I've lost track too. They changed the whole grading system and everything. So
we're obviously millennials, so we don't know the years. And because our children don't go to school, we really don't know the years.
Yeah, exactly.
So fifth form was when
Wait, sorry, just to clarify, our children don't go to school because they're homeschooled.
Right.
Not because they're like dropouts or anything.
Obviously. But so fifth form, are you 15?
15,
16.
Yes, I think you are.
15,
yeah.
sort of 16.
So third form, you were 13.
Right.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So I sat School C, which was the fifth form, in third form.
School certificate.
Yeah. As a homeschooler in an all-boys school.
Oh, did you have to go into the hall?
Into the hall, 300 boys.
Wow.
Only girl. Only girl.
Nice.
Everyone was like,
yeah. What is she doing here?
what is she doing here?
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I doing here? But anyway, managed to get that. So basically was a couple of years ahead. I started uni at 15. I was the youngest.
That's college in America.
Right. So I was the youngest by far. I had my school certificate. I had that done because I did the external exams in a school. And I started a 4-year Bachelor of Arts.
Yeah. So uni is short for university.
University.
Yeah.
Right. So I started the 4-year Bachelor of Arts, but it wasn't until I was late enrolling as well. It was already full. And then they were like, oh, this seems interesting. Let's have a chat with this homeschool girl. And then they ended up being like, yep, you can join.
Nice.
So I ended up joining, and then it was then that I realized that I couldn't major in photography until I think it was 2 or 3. It was like I
Right.
had to do
You have to do some prerequisite stuff.
massively
Yeah.
for a long time, and I was like, I just want to take photos. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to do photography. So I ended up leaving. Sorry. I ended up leaving, and I went to a private education college that did a 1-year course in photography.
Nice.
So I did that.
Yeah.
And then I jumped straight into photography.
Nice. You just couldn't wait. You just wanted to get straight into it.
Straight into it.
Too much passion, too much drive.
Totally. And so I ended up getting a job at a photographic place that they would go around, set up studios and take photos of like kindergarten groups. It was like families, basically.
Like a mobile studio kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that, and they had no idea that I was only 17. They never hired anyone under 20.
Because they didn't ask?
Yeah.
Or
Well, because I turned up and I said, do you have any openings? I'd like a job. Oh, I've never, ever had a job that I didn't want to do. So I was always like, why would I look at seek.co.nz or like, why would I go to openings for jobs, like websites that advertise that, when I can just go to the place I want to work and ask for a job?
Yeah. Well, you got nothing to lose.
So I did. So every single job I've had is because where do I want to work? I'd quite like to work there. So I go and ask for a job. It's always worked.
Bang. Got it.
You've just got to do it, right?
Yep.
So I just was like, yep, that's where I want to go. They found out 3 years after I'd worked there that I was only 20 at that time.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? How
Whoa.
old? They were like, how old were you when you started? And I was like, I think I was like 17. They were like,
Well, that's good. I mean, that just shows that, like, life experience and experience in the field or the industry that you're trying to get into is only just a perception. Because if you're hungry enough and you're smart enough and you're a quick learner and you show,
passion for the job,
yeah,
I think.
you can. That makes up for everything.
Well, I think so, because they were like, oh, wow. Because, if I had applied for a job and they'd looked at my CV, I did hand in my CV, by the way, and it did have my age on it. But they probably just didn't look too much. They were
Skim read.
they were like, actually, we do have an opening. That's cool. She's
Yeah.
keen. They weren't advertising the job. And I think, if they'd looked at me on paper, it would have been a no.
Yeah.
So I was like, just turn up.
Yeah.
Just turn up where you want to work. Ask for the job.
And so can I just say that you actually had the passion for getting into photography when film was still all being developed?
Yeah. So my education in photography was all just film and dark rooms.
Wow.
Yeah.
That-
Loved the dark room.
Long gone are those days.
So long gone.
Everything's digital now.
Yeah. So, self-developing all of the formulas and everything.
All the red light in the room and everything. Wow.
Honestly. And some of the bangers that they used to play on the radio in those dark rooms.
Oh, yeah.
You're just developing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then, so I worked in the industry, and it was not until I was developing photos basically and also working as a photographer shooting. So there was this balance for quite a few years. And then it wasn't until I was pregnant with our child that I started my own business as a photographer. And that's kind of where the 10 years of
independent.
Yeah, like business ownership, I guess, was. And so that was pretty much me. So worked, I did do some temping for a while between jobs. So I like always had a lot going on.
Yeah, you're like data entry.
Data entry.
Yeah,
I did
that.
all sorts. So I was working on the weekends for the company that was shooting families with a portable studio. During the weeks, I was doing some temping at all sorts of different places. And then I also did some shoots of my own on the side.
Nice. And that basically YouTube is what allowed you, or I guess it gave you the chance to sort of step away from that and kind of, because by the end of it, I mean, you haven't really spoken about the other side of your, your job and your passion, and that's staying up to like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night sometimes, just sitting there like editing videos on your computer, and then having to get that out, you're meeting deadlines.
Yeah.
There was a whole other side to it. It wasn't just a sort of like,
it wasn't just like, oh, and now I own my own business.
Yeah.
So that was great. It was like
a lot of hard work.
So much hard work. Had a newborn.
Yeah.
And was trying to kind of market myself and just, get the work and slowly build a business. But you're also building a family. So it was it was a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, you did an amazing job in navigating both of those things at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and and obviously I got to see everything firsthand.
A lot of late nights.
So I know just like how hard it was.
Yeah.
You were up to like early hours in the morning, then up again in the morning, getting the kids fed and stuff like that. I'm off to work and
it was hustle.
Yeah, it was major hustle.
Major hustle.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, I realized that the frustrating thing for me, I guess, was that with photography, more work didn't always mean more pay. Like there was only so many hours of the day that I could dedicate to photography while raising a family and homeschooling the kids.
Yes.
So my hours in the day was diminishing and I couldn't grow it anymore, and it was just frustrating.
Yeah. And I suppose it comes back to the thing where you could only really sort of, if it's service-based, you can only sort of earn as you're working.
Right. So everything that I was earning was based on how many hours I was putting in or how many jobs, like shoots I was doing.
Because everything was up front. Everything was up front, and then all the many hours in the background. Yeah, that was all sort of just added on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely got to breaking point before we moved here, and that was only 2 years ago. So that's bringing me up to pretty recent.
I felt it too.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah,
but that's basically been me.
Great experience though.
Oh, and I was so passionate about photography. I still am.
Oh, I remember before weddings, you were like just so like you weren't stressed out because it was like it was a job. You were stressed out because you wanted that day to be perfect for the person you were working for.
Totally, totally. And I was always about getting the shot and just like I'm still really passionate about it.
Oh, if there's any photographers out there watching, the hustle.
You will know the hustle.
Yeah.
It's like this.
The mindset.
The mindset, it's massive. And the hours that you put in. People think, can you just bring your camera? It's like, you'll know. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I mean, that basically sums up your professional career.
It does.
So, basically just photography with a little bit of temping in between and stuff like that. So you had a real clear vision and a passion.
100%. Right from young, I had a real clear vision. I chased it, but became a mum at 23. So, I've potentially had a shorter career than some.
Yeah.
And the frustrating thing for me was I knew that because I was a mum, there was only so much I could give.
Yeah.
And priority is always being a mum.
Yeah, stay at home mum.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, I still look back and think, man, if I had another 10 years of being able to push that career, I know I could have taken it places.
Oh,
but
definitely.
That's life, right?
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess that brings us on to me.
It does.
Okay. So from the moment that I sort of I left school, so I attended a school, what would you call it? I think it's a college. So this is where it gets confusing with American schools and our schools.
Yeah, it's so confusing, not gonna lie.
Our high school is called college, right?
Is it though?
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is.
it is.
And then our university is called university.
Yeah,
Their
that's
university
right.
is called college.
Right, that's right.
So
That's
we,
where
we
it's
don't have a
confusing.
high school.
No.
So it's called college, right?
Right.
Because I attended Auckland Grammar Boys College.
So we either call it high school or college.
Yes.
But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's high school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through college at Auckland Boys Grammar, which was a boys only school, and I've always kind of so from the moment I was like 4 or 5, around that age, I always knew I wanted to be a professional soccer player. That was like my absolute dream.
Passion.
Yeah, I would wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning with my dad, and we'd watch like Italy play in the World Cups and Inter Milan, and I would be so involved, so into it. I mean, before my games on Saturday morning, I'd be like, my head would be hanging out the window. I'd have like, I'd be like hyperventilating because I'd be like, oh, how's the game going to go? Like performance anxiety. Am I going to score any goals today?
Yeah.
I was just so involved in it, and I just poured everything, my heart, my soul, like everything into the whole soccer scene. And
We say soccer because
I'm saying soccer for the sake of the Americans. Football for us, soccer
football
for you.
was always football.
That's fine. There's no hard
So
feelings.
know that when we're saying football, we really mean soccer for you
so
guys.
not American football is for us as NFL,
Right,
and then football is soccer.
right.
But I'll say soccer just because I guess even the people that don't call it soccer will still know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So anyway, so soccer was my dream, always has been. Didn't even, if anybody asked me right up until the age of like 15, 16, I still would have said soccer.
Right.
I didn't really have any other sort of backup plan or profession. So I actually dropped out of college, or your high school in America.
Our high school, their college.
No.
Wait, our college,
No.
their high school.
Yes. I dropped out a year early just because I was basically, it just wasn't for me. So
Wait, so was that fifth form?
yes, fifth form.
Yeah.
So sixth form, because seventh form was the last year
Okay.
at 17.
Oh, so you did do sixth form.
Yes, I did do sixth form.
Well, that's not really a year early dropping out. You can opt
I
to
know,
do an extra
I know
year.
that seventh form is kind of optional, but it's
Yeah.
kind of frowned upon if you don't do it.
Well, if
know.
you want to be like a career person, then
Yeah.
you got to do seventh form.
Yeah, if you so I knew that I didn't want to go to university.
Right.
Or in America, college.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I didn't want to do that. I knew that I just wanted to get straight into the working environment, and I just wanted to start earning my own money and like just get out there as like a 16-year-old and just sort of do my own thing.
But like before that, you wanted to be a footballer. You wanted
Yep.
to be a soccer player.
Yeah.
And there's good reason for that. And I think you need to wind back to why there's good reason for that. It wasn't just I want to be a soccer player. I mean, you had like a real chance. You had a
Yes.
couple of real chances.
Well,
this is not just a pie in the sky. I think I want to
No,
be a
yeah.
professional footballer. There was like major basis to this.
There were offers to play in Europe, and multiple offers actually to play in Europe for different teams, including Roma and PSG. Some of you might know those clubs, but in France and Italy respectively. But at the same time, it just got to the point where, things got in the way of that. I was actually going to touch on that in my actual childhood podcast.
Oh, okay. So
episode.
maybe
'Cause
stay tuned.
That's where that whole, the love for football or soccer developed and everything like
Right.
that. So
we'll get into that in a It's a really interesting story, and it goes way
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
when you were like a child.
yes.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up playing. So when I left high school
Mm-hmm.
a year early, I basically became I was working at a gas station. Or a petrol station, as we call it in
And
New
that's
Zealand.
when I met you.
Yes, yeah. So just after
I
I
was
left,
like, oh, that guy that works at the gas station.
so nothing to write home about, but that's just how keen I was to, or how how driven I was to just get out of the whole studying environment and burying my head in books, which is nothing wrong with that, but I just knew that it wasn't for me.
No.
I just knew that I wanted to get out there and have like proper life experience, like dealing with bosses and co-workers and customers and just doing all that stuff.
And let's be honest, you wanted the car.
Yes, and so a major reason for that was because every day I would drive past this car yard and there'd be this beautiful red car. I'll put one up on the screen so you guys can see the one I'm talking about.
It's probably not as beautiful these days, but it was beautiful back then.
This was like mid 2000s, and it was just it was a car that I loved because I'd never seen it before on the road.
So what were you, like 17, 18? How old were you? 17?
16, 17.
Okay, 16, 17.
Yeah, so fresh out of sixth form, fresh out of a year before high school had finished.
Yeah.
And
Working at the gas station.
Yeah, working at the gas station just around the corner from my house, so it wasn't
Yeah.
that it was cruisy, man. I'd get up at
Key Street. I think I remember visiting you
Yeah.
in Key Street.
Mobil station on Key Street.
Yeah.
So
Those were the days.
And I would be working on like Friday nights, Saturday nights, and all my friends would come and fill up their like nice cars that they'd done up and everything, their racing cars, and they'd say, "Oh, Sam, you need to come out with us." And I'm like, "Sorry, man, I'm working."
Okay. Also, the boy racer scene in Auckland back in our day
was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was insane.
Like, if you were a young person, you were like 17, 18 back in our day. What year would that have been?
It was like the Fast and Furious movie.
Oh,
there was like
that was the Auckland streets, and we
Nissan, Godzillas.
We all had boy racer cars. I had one.
Mitsubishi like Evos and
what was
Subaru,
my car's name?
Libby.
Libby.
And
Libby was the
Mitsubishi
best.
Libero, right?
Yeah, blow-off valve.
Turbo station wagon. Anyway,
that's what I had.
I digress.
Yes.
So the whole petrol station thing, that kind of, it was an interesting experience. It was definitely like sort of a great way to experience the just working life,
the workforce
as a young guy, right? You know, I was I had my problems. You know, there were bosses that would give me issues, and you know, I never really had any problems with coworkers, but I just, customers at gas stations, they're in there trying to just get their gas and get out. They don't want to spend time there. It's not like, it's working at some sort of shop where people are like browsing or anything, so often you'd have it, it was a good experience because there were sometimes customers who were just so frustrated and you just had to navigate your way around that and learn how to deal with that and just, like keep the situation calm and, just try and sort of work.
Didn't you do graveyard shift as well?
Yes,
I think I remember
did. Yep.
popping by
Yep.
in a graveyard shift.
Yes.
With the...
So I ended up getting shifted from the perfect scenario, which was like the afternoon shift, cruisy, afternoon, evening shift just around the corner from my house to like all the way out east to Bucklands Beach, which was like, 40, 45-minute drive.
We came past.
Yeah, at like, 11 o'clock at night. I would start at 11 o'clock and work through the whole night. So I've been there before. I've done the graveyard shift and I know the hustle. So if any of you graveyard shifters out there, it's it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I mean, your whole brain has to like do this like sort of 180 switch where, you're sleeping in the day and working at night. And
crazy.
it is. It's very crazy. Anyway, so again, like, so grateful to be able to have experience like that, to know what that's like.
And you bought the car.
And I bought the car. I ended up getting the car. So in all honesty, I had a little bit of help from my parents because they saw how hard I was working. And
didn't they say, if you can get half, we'll pay the other half, sort of thing?
it was pretty much like that. Yeah, it was like half.
Yeah.
And so we met in the middle, and I was so stoked. It was like the best thing,
This guy,
hot red racing car.
like,
I was like,
we're all out now. I had like a Honda Civic, like,
yeah.
do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what year would that have been? Like 1986 or something.
Yeah, an old school Civic.
Old school. And this guy turns up in his red Honda.
Yeah. No, that was awesome.
It was
I love that car.
like,
I loved it.
Okay.
I miss it. I sometimes wonder where it is, who's driving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
We should track that down.
Yeah, no, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Anyway, so I got my big bright red car, which I absolutely adored. And every 17-year-old kid would has his prized car.
You let me drive it.
Yep, I did. I let you drive it.
Why did you let me drive it?
Oh, because I trusted you. And
We were not together.
I let a couple of other people drive it as well. And
Yeah.
there was a crash.
There was a crash. Not from me.
And not from me. I won't say the name.
Not
but
from me. Okay.
If you're watching, you know who it is. But it wasn't their fault. It was not their
No.
fault. It was the other person's fault.
Right. It
So
just was bad timing.
let's make that clear. Anyway, enough about the car.
Yeah.
Okay, so mobile, that once I got the car, I sort of like started like, pop my collar, and I felt like, this petrol station thing, man, it's
not for me.
Yeah, I think I can move on from this. And so after that, I actually went to, so there was a brief stint where I did summer vacation work in Camp America, which we'll explain and talk about and delve into in another podcast episode. So that was my first ever introduction. Actually, no, that was my second trip to America. I went once as a kid, quite a young kid, like 11 years old, with my parents to Disneyland.
Can we talk about
really brief trip?
your Sedgeton's job, though?
That's where I was going to.
Yeah.
So I get back from America. And
was that after America?
It was after America.
Okay.
So, actually, no, it wasn't.
No, I didn't think it was
No,
because
it wasn't.
I remember.
Yes, actually, now I remember. I remember. Okay, so this job. Okay, this job had a lot to do with racing car parts and aftermarket, like performance. The whole aftermarket industry. And back then it was booming, right? We just explained every one of our friends had like a nice car.
We were all trying to get like aftermarket vehicles.
Yes. So
and racing them illegally.
yeah. So my dad's cousin married the daughter of one of the biggest sort of performance car parts owners in Auckland or New Zealand, in fact.
Yeah.
And so once I had left my petrol gas station job, I was into the whole car scene and I liked all the performance side of things, and I was totally involved in that. And then I thought, oh, this is a dream job. They offered it to me, so they said we have a job out by the airport. So if you want to come and work there in our Japanese performance parts, sector of the business, then the job is yours.
I was always buying car parts from Sidgerlands, and
Yes.
so was my dad.
But you were probably buying from Dominion Road.
Yeah, definitely.
So there were twin brothers. So
Okay.
twins.
Were they twins?
Yep, they split apart,
Okay.
and one brother went to
Dominion Road.
and one brother went out to the airport.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they both kind of specialized in the same stuff, although the one where you probably bought your stuff was more like American muscle orientated. Mine was more like Japanese JDM stuff.
Yeah.
And so we still sold like Holly and like all of the like American muscle brands and everything like that. We still dealt with that. So it was awesome. I loved it. I had first-hand experience. I mean, I think I even bought some parts for my own car from there.
Yeah, probably. Well, I did.
And did up my car.
Because my car needed a lot of parts.
Yeah, and because your car was Japanese as well.
Yeah.
And so that was good while it lasted. That was probably a year and a half maybe.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't that long.
We would cross paths on the way to work. So I'd be driving to work and I'd see, were you walking?
I was walking because I was flatting quite close to where I was working in a photography like developing company.
Yeah.
And so I'd often just opt to walk instead of drive.
Right. So this is before we were together.
Yeah.
We just knew each other as friends.
Yeah.
And you'd always get a beep beep.
Yeah.
And then a wave.
It was him driving
out the
past.
window.
Yeah. So
that was nice.
it was nice.
That might have set the tone a little bit.
It might have. Yeah.
And so I got involved in the whole performance car parts world and absolutely loved it. I mean, that was around the time when Fast and Furious and all that stuff was all real super popular, and that was just my world at the time.
It was a good time.
Yeah, and so like I said, so we can reverse back to then. So then I decided I wanted to go to America and do the summer camp.
Yeah.
I didn't go for a vacation myself. I was working at the camp and helping the kids that were on summer vacation there and being like their counselor,
Right.
their camp guide. So I did that. That was in like rural Pennsylvania, like literally way out in the middle of nowhere, at a place called Lake Como. So very small little like neighborhood, and it was pretty interesting.
So how long were you there?
So I was there for. So I was working for 2 months of the summer at the camp, and then I was like traveling around afterwards for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
So I was there for almost half a year.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that was an amazing experience. I was like 18 at that time.
Yeah. That's right.
And so I got home from America, and then I started working for my parents.
Did you though, or were you working? Yeah, you did, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I came back
So there was
and started working for the button factory.
Yeah, okay.
Which is what everybody
called it.
Eloquently called it.
Wow, it was more than that, but
Affectionately called it. It's much more than that. But everybody just called it, Sam's parents, they own the button factory.
Right. So they sold fashion accessories to like New Zealand designers and things like that.
Yes. So this is, I think it must have been maybe the mid to early 90s where my dad, Enrico, he started a company out of the back of the garage of my grandparents' place in Christchurch.
Oh, is that where it started?
In the
Christchurch?
South Island. Yep.
Okay.
So they started Italian Import Company.
Yeah.
That was the name of the original business.
Yeah.
Italian Import Company. And he started importing things like buttons and fashion accessories and like zips and belt buckles and everything, to do with the whole fashion scene, right? And of course, when you think of fashion, you think of Italy.
Yeah.
So you thought, okay, and I'm Italian, so I know my contacts, I know how to, speak the language. So perfect mix.
Yeah.
And I remember even the photo, if I can find the photo, I'll put it up on the screen, but it's him sitting there on the desk with his first order. He's holding up his first order that he had, and he's got his little like box full of buttons that he's about to count out and send out. And so, over the years, they grew into a huge company. Like it was just an amazing success. And
huge success.
In fact, it's still going to this very day.
Yeah.
So it's well over, like, I think it might even be 30. It might be coming up to 30 years old now, the business.
Yeah, there must be a big milestone coming up.
So it was probably the late 90s where I think they might have changed the name to Oceania Import Company.
Right.
So it kind of just, it was more to do with the location of them rather than what they were importing.
Right.
Because then obviously Asia became a big player in the market.
Yes.
Importing from Hong Kong, China, and everything like that.
Yeah.
And so they also actually started to break into the movie scene. So a thing about my mum, as you might not know, is that most of her career, her professional career was working on movies.
Yep.
So she was on the piano with Sam Neill. She was on movies like Utu, Heavenly Creatures. She was offered a job on Lord of the Rings when it came here with Peter Jackson.
But she had small children.
She had just had my sisters, and they were both very small children at that time. And she basically said, no, I want to concentrate on raising my family. And the business that she had started, obviously, with Enrico, my dad, was doing so well that she thought, why sort of walk away from this? And, you know, it would have been quite a stressful thing to take on.
I think the timing was just off.
But but I mean, what a historic thing to.
Oh, would have been cool.
She had worked her way up to the very top of her, her expertise in the movie industry, which is art set directing, props, setting up things on the wall and making sure everything in this whole scene was looking like it should be. The couch, the carpet, the wallpaper, the lamps, like everything like that. She just made sure the whole scene was set.
Yeah.
And she just she did it to perfection.
Yeah.
She was spoken so highly of. Yeah. And then that was the first person they called when Lord of the Rings was about to be filmed.
Yeah.
In New Zealand.
Yeah.
So yeah, but unfortunately that time of her life, it didn't really work out, although it would have been pretty cool to have that on your CV.
I mean, it would have been.
Because it ended up being a pretty historic trilogy.
No one knew what.
Yeah, no one knew just how much it would blow up. Yeah. But anyway, so as a kid personally, I got to experience many movie sets like Hercules, Xena Warrior Princess, all these different TV series that were filmed here that she would work on. I'd go and I'd go and play on the Viking ship, and I would sit back behind the scenes, and I would see them yelling action, and then I'd see the stunt guy just come running off the top of this structure and then fall 3 stories and land in this net, and I was just watching this stuff and just blown away.
Wow!
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I kind of I took a little bit of a side street.
We did take a side street,
explaining my parents' professional career,
but relevant because you ended up working for them.
I ended up working at the button factory.
Right.
So I was kind of in charge of dispatch, which is, if we got an order in, I would get it, and then I would go through the little corridors of boxes that they would have of all the different buttons and accessories, and I would go and pick it out of the box, make sure it's the right size, count it out, get the right order, package it up, and send it off.
Kind of basic stuff, but...
Pretty basic.
Yeah.
But it's crucial.
Crucial, but basic. So you did that.
I was the engine room.
You were.
Yeah.
So how long did you do that before you took off again?
So I was probably, I think I did that for about 2 years, and then I decided to pursue my soccer dream again.
Right.
And so I took off to Italy, where I played for an international academy. And it was kind of I would call it semi-professional to the point where we played against semi-pros.
So were you 20 when you did that?
Yes, I was 20 turning 21. Yeah,
20 turning 20. You missed my 21st.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I had my 21st in Italy.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're about 20 years old.
Yeah.
And you decided to give it one last shot.
Yes. So I went over there, and we played probably, I think, between 30 to 35 games for the whole year that I was there, and I scored in every single game.
I always remember you showing me the footage of you being interviewed.
Oh, yes. That's actually still on Google. If you search my name,
we should.
You can find an interview of me.
An interview, and you were so young, and you were doing this interview after you'd played.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah. So I got a few offers from different teams, but it kind of fell over because when we were over there, the International Academy basically varied from the ages between 15, so 15 was the entry age, which there was a lot of Americans and there was a couple of Mexicans. America seemed to be the primary country that had the most people in this younger academy. And then when you hit, I think it was 18, so between 18 and 21 was my side of the academy. We got our own apartments and everything like that. We were all very independent. We went to the University of Perugia to study the language of Italian, and that was our main course. But they kind of went to a high school, the younger guys.
Okay.
So when we were, but then when we would play a game, we all mixed. So a defender would be a 15-year-old guy from Mexico, and me, a striker, would be a 20-year-old guy from New Zealand, and then midfielder would be a 17-year-old from America.
So it was this international school. For football.
Yeah, International Academy.
Yeah.
And shout out to my coach Bruno too. He was awesome. So
I wonder if he will ever watch this.
I don't know, maybe. Anyway, so we played. I scored in every single game. I remember keeping a diary too. I'd write down the team that we played and how many minutes I played, how many goals I scored. And I remember every single game in that the whole year I scored. I think I scored only a few times I scored one goal. I think most of the time I scored more than one.
Yeah, you were a high scorer.
Yeah, so I was a striker or an attacker. And I was basically, ever since I was like 5 years old, started playing, I've always been a striker.
Right.
And so I had a great time, met a lot of cool people.
So that was a year that you were gone, eh?
Guys from America, yeah. So I spent like a full season there.
Yeah.
But what I was getting back to saying was that as soon as they found out that I was 20, so many teams would inquire after the game. Oh, that
Sam Canestri.
Yeah, the Sam Canestri guy. How what's his story?
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, how old is he? And they'll be like, because he's I was quite tall.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, he's 20, and they're like, oh, okay, nah,
Too old.
Too old. Because they just, in Italy, they have this mentality. They're like, oh, if we can get him at like 15, 16, then we can still teach him our ways. But they're like, at 20, oh, he's already got his bad habits, and, it's hard to sort of out-teach them.
The age thing was a big thing.
So that was my biggest barrier. So I got about 2 or 3 offers from actual semi-professional teams. But then my coach told me, he said, as soon as they found out your age, he said that basically those offers went to like somebody else, just much younger. So anyway, that's fine. I took that on the chin and came back to New Zealand. And that's when we kind of got together.
Yeah.
And I think actually when I got back, I think I started working for my parents again.
Yes.
The button factory.
I think you did for just a little while.
Yes.
Or did you? Or did you go straight to delivering Coke?
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
I think you went straight because our friends...
Yeah, my friend got me a job. So I was a Coca-Cola delivery guy. Up at like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Drive out to the depot.
Yeah.
Fill up the truck. And then go and spend the next day, or like I actually know the cool thing about starting at 4 o'clock in the morning is you actually got to finish around midday.
Yeah, you did.
Depending on how busy you were or how long your route was. So that was cool though. I mean, I actually enjoyed that job because it was like you were just on the move all day, driving around town.
And then you had a lot of time off.
You weren't stagnant. You weren't sort of sitting there. I'd get home like to my flat at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and just chill in the afternoon sun, and
so I guess
it was nice.
We got together very soon after you got back.
Yes. So when I was a Coke delivery guy.
Like the night that you got back, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's right. So you saw me filling up at the petrol station or the gas station.
Yeah, I did.
The day I got back. And
but we shouldn't give away too much of our love story.
We'll save the story of how we met for another podcast episode.
Maybe we should,
Yeah, I think that'll be cool.
But we got together when you got back.
Yes.
And you were delivering Coke, and then I'm pregnant.
Yeah. So we got together.
22.
Yeah. So, and then, and then obviously you were pregnant at 22, and then 23.
Well, it was after I was pregnant that your parents were like, well, you better come back and work for us.
Yeah.
Because delivering Coke's just not going to provide for a family.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
So they were like, okay, come back and work for us. At least there's,
there's a little bit of security there.
We can kind of control your wage.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that was amazing.
That was amazing.
That was
because we didn't have a lot to draw on, to be fair.
No. So yeah, went back to the old family business.
The family business, and to be fair, the family business had like this apartment on top of it.
Yes, upstairs.
Yeah. It was like bedroom, bathroom,
downstairs was office. Upstairs was almost like a self-contained apartment.
Right. So downstairs was office and kitchen.
Yeah. So,
upstairs was self-contained apartment.
Oh yeah,
kitchen.
Sorry, without a kitchen.
Yeah, and so then you would
bedrooms and bathroom.
We were lucky because I was flatting, and so were you.
Yep.
Were you not?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, and we were flatting separately, and it was like, okay, we're having a baby.
Yeah.
22.
Yeah. So, a lot of learning to do in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
A lot of growing up to do.
So much. And so we moved into that apartment above your...
But that was good because that job was familiar to me.
It was.
I'd done it before. Yeah. I knew it was required. So I just sort of fit straight in. And
definitely not a passion. I mean, your passion was still football.
Still soccer.
Always was.
Yeah.
Always was.
And then obviously that kind of went out the window because starting a family became sort of everything.
Well, I think it went out the window with your age anyway, and then it was like, starting a family. That's it.
Yeah. So anyway, I started my second stint working for the family business, and that didn't obviously come without its stresses and and things like that. Probably got fired about 3 times, but turned up the next morning and everything was fine. You know how it goes in family businesses.
If you've ever worked for a family business, you will know.
You know how it goes.
Yeah.
No, but
Fired and rehired.
no regrets though. I absolutely loved it.
And it was great. Like we were able to.
It was
be
fantastic.
Pretty secure in bringing a child into the world.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was working literally just down. I lived up a flight of stairs.
Right.
And worked down a flight of stairs.
And I think, when I finished working and went on to maternity leave, I never went back to a workplace.
Yeah.
And that was a gift.
Apart from starting your own business.
I started my own business. So from there, I was able to nurture and start my own business and have this form of income while still being at home with kids.
Yeah.
So I think without having a really reliable, steady job that your parents gave you, we would never have been able to do that.
Yeah.
And where would we have lived?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
no, I mean it was such a big help in
huge.
in so many ways. There was so many layers to it.
Yeah.
And we're like, my parents just offered us such a big helping hand in starting our lives.
Yeah.
And then their business started to grow to the point where they thought, well, let's shift out into a bit of a bigger office.
Yeah.
So they went, and this was it was on the same road, but it was probably only about maybe 2 buildings up. And we'd
already shifted out. We'd moved somewhere else.
To your uncle and aunties?
Yeah, underneath
downstairs.
in the basement of my auntie and uncles.
Yeah.
And then
One bedroom.
Yeah. 2 kids by that point.
1 bedroom, 1 bathroom.
1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 2 kids.
Yeah.
So that, Anyway, so then you sidestepped and you moved to that down the road.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, they shifted into this office and it was kind of in this little block of 3 offices. So there was an antique kind of arty store on the first one. Then they shifted into the middle one, my parents, and then on the front one was kind of this like technology sort of barcode scanner company.
Yeah.
And so I was working in the button factory after they'd shifted into that new office.
Yeah.
And I remember one day we arrived at my parents' place for dinner.
Yeah.
We were just turning up to have dinner with them. And I remember you said, "Oh, Sam, I forgot my phone. It was an iPhone. I forgot my phone in the car. Can you please go and grab it for me?"
Yeah.
And I had like bags of nappies and like all the stuff for the kids in my hands. And I grabbed your phone too. And as I was walking up, I dropped your phone and it hit the concrete. And I picked it up and turned it on. I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
And it was just smashed to bits.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, so I was like, "Oh, what am I gonna do?" So I went upstairs because this is like the first sort of nice phone when we started to own like iPhones and stuff like that.
I think even then your parents bought me that phone.
Yes, I think it was.
Under the business.
Yeah.
We just had nothing.
Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me. This is like one of the few nice things we have in our lives." And I've just smashed it on the ground. So anyway, that led me down a path of, okay, who do I call to get this fixed? The local repair shop. I called them up and they were like, "Oh yeah, that'd be $800." And I was like, the cost of the phone was like only just slightly more than that.
Yeah.
I was like, how is this even possible? So that woke me up and I was like, I started doing all this research and I was just like, how much does an actual screen, just a screen cost? Mm-hmm. And also how easy is it to fix it myself? So I was like, I'm going to try and hunt down a screen and then I saw the screen cost like $70, $80.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and find the screen and then fix it myself.
Yeah.
So I started to do a whole bunch of research. I bought my own little iPhone repair kit off, a website, and it arrived. It came with little tools and everything, all the little screwdrivers, the tiny, the little minuscule.
You've still got them.
Yeah, the screws inside the phones are so tiny. I was just like, oh my goodness, this looks so complicated. But I watched like YouTube video after YouTube video and tutorials and everything on how to try and figure out how to fix this for myself. Mm-hmm. And so this was actually back in the day before they sealed the screens with glue, where it was basically just undid a few screws at the bottom and you basically just popped the screen off and you were inside the phone.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy. And so I ended up sourcing a screen and fixing your phone for you for probably $60. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, that took me probably about an hour, maybe slightly less. And they're charging $600. So a little sort of light bulb went off in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, since I'm working for my parents, they'll accommodate me and allow me to sort of start my own business on the side.
Right.
and so I would be able to like go off and buy, a bunch of screens. So I started advertising. I started my own business.
You had like these business cards.
Yeah. So I named my company iFix, IPHIX.
Yeah.
iFix New Zealand.
Hey, it was good back then.
Oh, it was,
Now everyone's got that name.
yeah. So this is, what was this? Was this like 2009, 2010,
Yeah.
2011?
2010 or 11,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. So around there. And so I was working that business for maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Definitely still on the side. Like it wasn't a full-time income.
No.
It was just every now and then we could get some cash money. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and it was a thing that helped us.
I would hand out business cards,
Right.
and I would get the occasional text or call saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
how much do you
And you're like,
charge
oh
for?"
my gosh, I just earned $200 and something.
Yes.
And that was that was like our, I don't know, it was like our extra money that
Yeah.
we'd get things like we could maybe get takeout.
Yeah, I remember fixing like iPhone 4s and 5s, and like that was
Yeah.
around the time where I was repairing stuff.
And
And
it was like, oh, we can get Thai tonight.
the occasional iPad or the occasional Samsung or
Yeah.
I started to branch out and discover like what
iPads and you did
iPads,
iPads.
iPads, iPhones, and Samsungs.
Yeah.
And so that business actually started to do really well. And I actually got an offer from a guy who actually had a full-on like set-up company,
Like a brick and mortar company.
like an actual shop just up the road from where I was working.
Yeah, he had found your card and he was like, oh, this guy's getting a bit of business.
Yes.
Maybe, and he wanted like a partnership, eh?
He wanted a partnership, or he kind of wanted like someone to come in and sort of just be his main technician, his main repair guy, so then he could focus on the business side of things.
Yeah.
And so I was literally a day away from going up to sign a contract with him and basically become his like head technician and start taking that on. And it was so if you guys remember, I spoke briefly about the different offices that were in the apartment in the office block, and there was the barcode scanning technology company that was working on the front corner in the corner shop. They approached my parents on the day that I was going to go and sign my contract with the repair shop. And they came in and said, "Hey, what would you guys think about us taking Sam on board? Because we've seen that he's started his own business. He obviously knows his way around technology. He's a go-getter, and we like his style. We like what we've seen.
We like what we've seen of him and his nature and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so because also with the funny thing is we actually shared a kitchen with them.
Yeah,
and a toilet and everything like that.
Because it was kind of the shared.
Yeah,
thing.
And so we would often speak to them, and so it wasn't just like this random thing. We kind of had a little bit of a relationship with them, like as neighbors, working neighbors. And so they asked and said, what would you think of us taking Sam on board? And they were like, well,
you can have him.
Yeah, please take him now.
Yeah.
We're sick of him.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's not ideal working for your parents.
No, it isn't. I mean, but it's like anything. It has its ups and it has its downs.
Yeah.
Because you're so close to them, you kind of feel like you can talk to them differently from like a normal boss.
I think they also knew that what you were doing with them was not your passion. I think they also knew that, where was this going to go?
It was a space filler. And they knew that. I mean, growing up, I've always been like a gamer. Like I had like a Game Boy and like a PlayStation, and I always liked technology and different TVs, and I was always just infatuated with different technologies.
You've always stayed up
phones.
to date with like the latest tech.
Yeah.
I hold on to my old things like it's not dead yet. And you're like, oh man, you need to get the latest
Yeah,
thing.
the latest one, man.
Yeah.
You need to upgrade to like 1080p.
Yeah, all the things.
HD's the thing right now.
I remember
You're
the TV
like, no, I've got my SD thing, I'm fine.
the TV we were going to grow old and die with. Anyway.
Yeah. So I ended up, my parents ended up calling me as I was walking up to sign the contract with this guy. And they said, look, we've just had an offer from the company next door. What do you think? And I said, yes, definitely.
You said, no, let me call Nades.
Yeah. Because I knew that I was just wanting to, I wanted my repair business to do well, and I kind of wanted that to be my full-time thing.
Right.
And we were praying a lot. Like at that time, we were praying really hard for my professional career. Well, I was like, we were praying really hard for the direction, right?
Right, because, like Sam wasn't that happy working for his parents, not just because of that, but because that was not a job.
It was just
it was a filler. And it's like, how long can we keep going in a filler? And obviously, there wasn't a lot of qualifications to fall back on. It wasn't like, I'm going to study as
Didn't
an
go to
architect,
university,
so I can do, like it was just
Yeah.
What on earth are we going to do?
Yeah.
And I feel like the iPhone fixing thing was great. It gave you your own flair.
Yeah.
But when that contract came with that guy, I know there was a lot of red flags. There was things that we knew.
A few little things
there
like he was
checks,
paying me like per job, per fix and stuff. Like there wasn't like a salary.
And we were like, man, we've got rent to make. Like we need actual income. Like we can't.
Yeah.
It was like he wanted to grow the business and have Sam there, but he would only pay Sam per growing the business.
Yes.
And so we would be
There
like,
was no security.
no security whatsoever. We'd been like fully reliant on him to grow the business for you to even get a wage.
Yeah.
And I guess the backup for that was we always knew that you would have your parents, the job.
Exactly. So super grateful for, working at my parents' business.
Yeah.
I'll be forever grateful. I actually did enjoy my time for the most part there. I mean, it was, family business is family business, and that's how it's always going to be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I instantly knew as soon as I got that call from my mum saying that, the boss from the company next door has come in and told us they want you to go and work for them. Because we had so many doubts about this contract offer from this phone repair shop.
We knew that was the answer.
We just knew because we were like going into this and I was like, okay, God, if that's the door you're opening for me, then that's fine. But it was just as soon as my mum called me and explained that to me, I just knew for a fact that he was taking care of all of our worries and our anxieties.
And he was like, hold on.
Yeah, he closed that door and he opened a new one. And then, so that was me for the next 6 years working at this company.
Yeah.
Where I was,
It was a massive answer to prayer, actually.
Yeah. And it was a perfect segue.
Absolutely.
Because I went from fixing phones and iPads and stuff like that to fixing barcode scanners.
Yeah.
So
same sort of technology.
And not only that, just working on different, like problem solving with technology and creating different, solutions for, digital scanning in supermarkets or grocery stores, when you can go in a self-service checkout aisles.
Yeah.
Helping develop all those different solutions. I mean, it was an absolutely amazing time in my life. My boss was fantastic. I really loved my time there. But I guess, after sort of 4 or 5 years, there was a little bit of toxicity in the work environment.
Yeah.
A few colleagues, that was just things got a little bit hard to sort of deal with.
I think the biggest thing as well, like, because you spent 6 years there. I mean, that's how kids like a good chunk of their childhood.
Yes.
Was you working at that place. So that saw us through for like a long time. It was great because it was a steady income.
Yeah.
It was a really, through the ups and downs of the economy and everything, you were always taken care of.
Oh, absolutely.
It was as stable can get.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, our work trips were like, trips to Sydney, Australia.
Oh, the company
and
was
stuff like that. The company was unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Loved it.
Yeah.
They weren't like, I always remember the boss would tell me, we don't watch the clock here.
No.
So if you need to pop out, if your family has like a matter that you need to attend to, or if you have something that you need to do, go out and do it, come back and just make sure you get your job done.
Yeah, they never watched the clock.
No.
So you could sort of come and go as you pleased or as your workload kind of demanded.
Yep.
And I found that to be such a good thing during that time of our lives.
Absolutely.
You could always meet me. You could leave later. You could come home early if you needed to. And so with me also running my own business, how many times would I have a photo shoot at like 4 o'clock?
And I had to shoot off and watch the kids.
You'd have to come home, watch the kids. I'd go off to get the golden hour sunset.
Yeah, and they wouldn't even bat an eyelid.
Nothing.
And because, it was just, and that kind of mentality as a company, just, it doesn't breed people who take advantage of it.
No.
It breeds people who are like,
willing to work
that's
harder.
awesome. I can I'm happier at this job because I can go out and do the things in my life outside of work and get it done and not stress about like, oh gosh, I've only got like 5 minutes left,
Also, you want to work harder for someone that's just like, hey, just make sure you're taking care of your workload.
Yeah.
You're going to put that workload pretty high on your priorities so that you can take advantage of the flexibility.
Because it's an ongoing thing.
Totally.
If you start taking advantage of it, then they're like, hang on, no. So that's going to stop now.
Yeah.
And then it's over.
So I feel like that 6 years that you were there was really good, but it was becoming quite apparent towards the end of the 6 years. We were sort of looking, a whole other story is us just even trying to buy a house, like us trying to get ahead. I mean, we battled. We were young when we started. We had so many obstacles to overcome.
Yeah.
We couldn't, our priority was, obviously me raising the kids at home. And I had my business on the side, but, we hustled hard and we just didn't feel like we were getting ahead. And I remember you having conversations with your boss at that time saying, where can I go? Can I study more? Can I go and do some extra study? Can I try and take on more responsibility?
Yeah.
How can I raise my income, basically? How can I climb the ladder here?
Yeah.
Like, where can I go?
Yeah.
And do you remember he said to you, there's basically nowhere you can go?
Yeah, for the job that I was doing, as in terms of being a technician for the actual hardware,
Yeah.
I was basically told that this is kind of the ceiling. But in saying that, they did say if you want to get more into like the IT side of things, like software developing, or I remember that I was just before I left the company, they were kind of about to start taking me on trips out to like where you go to like a business that has a big warehouse or a big factory to set up their Wi-Fi network.
Yeah.
All through the factory. So that comes with a whole bunch of testing. Like, you have to put like one access point up in a corner of the thing and you can see how far the signal reaches. Then you have to put another one up to make sure that it overlaps that slightly.
Yeah.
And you have to go and navigate this whole thing and map it all out and present the plan to the company and be like, this is what we can do for you.
Yeah.
So we're also doing solutions like that too, like big Wi-Fi network solutions and everything. Like, we're basically, our company got rid of kind of the pen and paper trail and turned everything digital.
Right.
So
they
it was
were
like,
actually quite forward thinking.
Very forward thinking.
Do you remember like some of the AI stuff that you saw as well?
Yes.
Definitely cutting edge technology.
Oh, absolutely. One of the leading companies in this part of the world, in Oceania and Asia. I remember the companies that we looked after contributed to half the nation of New Zealand's GDP every year.
Right.
So we looked after like some of the biggest companies in the whole country.
And for such a small company, there was only like 13, 15 of you type thing.
Yep. Pretty small company.
This was
13.
Yeah.
Yeah, very close knit.
But with that came the problem of there were the masterminds at the top who were developing all the software and getting all the sales and everything. And then there was people like you that were making it happen, like
like I said, the engine room.
The engine room.
Yeah.
And the gap between the engine room and the developing software was not something you could climb without being specialized.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's where the whole thing came apart, where it was like, hey, now I want to buy a house. Now we want to get ahead. Now our kids are older.
Yeah.
We don't want to be just making ends meet every week anymore.
Yes.
We want to get ahead.
And that time of our lives really coincided with the real estate market in Auckland, specifically in Auckland and New Zealand, just absolutely skyrocketing. And we were just watching it just soar out of our reach
every time.
And it was just getting harder and harder to we just almost knew it was impossible.
Yeah.
So we had to start looking outside of Auckland, which was the major city in New Zealand,
but I
to
think
smaller towns.
We should go back, because we did buy this house while you were working.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
So we were still working for this company.
Yeah.
And I was still working for this company, but we just so desperately wanted a family home. And we thought, okay, well, if Auckland is going to be impossible now because of all the foreign investors and everything that have come in and bought up all the houses, and the prices just skyrocketed. It was almost like a vertical trajectory.
We couldn't catch it.
It was impossible.
Like, our income would go up slightly and the house prices would just, we couldn't catch it.
Yeah, it was impossible. So we started looking at smaller towns, and that's where we are today. We looked at a few different towns, and then we settled on Taupo. And I remember I was the one going out traveling, looking at all the houses.
Yeah, I hadn't even seen this house when you bought it.
Negotiating with all the agents and everything like that, like, asking for prices, and my mum would come along with me and take a look at different things. And I remember your brother Jesse.
Yeah, my brother Jesse did, had a look around and was like, "This one's a good one."
Yeah, this one's a good one.
And he was right.
And I just felt right about this place too. So we ended up buying this place, but we only owned it for a few months, where we came in and did some renovations and some touch-ups on the house, and then we rented it out almost immediately.
That was due to another medical issue that you had.
Yes.
So the plan was actually for you to start commuting back then.
Well, going back to the first episode of the podcast, this is around the same time where I got my gastritis in my stomach.
Right.
Yeah.
So it became impossible to think that you might be able to commute from here to Auckland and to keep your job where you were.
Yeah, I needed to be settled.
So because those circumstances kind of changed, we had to rent out the property, which turned out to be a massive blessing, because, it did well on the rental market.
No, it did well.
It did really well.
Yeah, but the thing is that we couldn't shift here because it was my Auckland job that was servicing the mortgage for the house here.
Exactly.
So I couldn't shift down to a small town and get a small town job, because then I wouldn't be able to...
We wouldn't have been able to pay for the mortgage.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I think getting back to your career...
So we bought the house, was it 2018? 2017?
I think 17, 18, it was like the beginning of 18.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was around about the start of the whole COVID thing. So
No, that was 2020.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
So we were still renting up in Auckland.
Yeah. So we rented ourselves and
Yep.
we rented out this house.
Yes.
So
And so we spent the first year in lockdown and everything like that.
So
and,
fast forward 2 years of owning the house and it's lockdown time.
and still working at the same
Working
company,
at the same
technology
place,
company.
renting in Auckland ourselves, a house that was way less than this one.
Yes.
Like it was a
shoebox.
It was
It was
tiny,
so small.
moldy.
It was so small.
I mean, I cried a lot.
So if you have watched my Kiwi Kicker channel, you would notice that all my Kiwi Kicker videos, like 90% of the earliest ones, including my first reaction when I had the fitted sheet up on the window, we converted the back half of the laundry in
Which
that
used
house
to be the outside of the house.
into my little studio. It was
Yeah.
like a little like 6 foot desk by like 1 foot, and I just chucked my computer on there. I
Yeah.
learned how to edit there. I learned how to get into YouTube. So I guess we could talk about that.
So yeah,
I was quite unhappy at this job at this point.
So at this point, 6 years deep into this job, knowing after having a discussion, where can we go? How can we get ahead?
Yeah.
Knowing that you'd been told there was really no way you could climb the ladder. It was
Yes.
kind of like this or
and because of
Nothing.
things that was going on between me and colleagues,
there
bad
was
bad
stuff-
relationships.
Bad relationships. It was a toxic workplace.
Things
in
were
the
turning a
end.
bit sour. Not the company or the boss. They were both
Yeah.
fantastic. Not the actual company itself. I didn't regret working for the company. It's just some of the colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember you were so unhappy. Like you were coming home really unhappy.
Yeah.
Really, really unhappy. And I hadn't seen you that unhappy in a long time. And I just remember thinking, you would come home beside yourself,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't right. You can't just, in my mind, a work life is such a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
If you're not happy there and you're not passionate about it, you have to change it.
Yeah.
You have to change it.
Yeah. I remember coming home one day after just probably the most horrible day.
The worst day. Like
Yeah.
literally you were in tears.
Yeah.
And you sat on the couch and you were so defeated. And I was like, nah,
Yeah.
something has to change.
And I remember you asked me the question and you said,
yeah.
"What do you want to be?"
I
So
said,
what,
Sam,
what do you want to do?
if money wasn't an issue, study time, anything, just if you could think of one thing
Yeah.
that you were passionate about, that you could make a career out of, that you could do, that you loved, what would it be? and just take every roadblock out of it. Just think of that one thing that you would love to be. And in my mind, I thought you were going to say, I want to be an architect.
Yeah, because architecture was always the thing that I was always good at art. I've always been good at sort of drawing and sketching and
Yeah.
3D graphics, and that was the side of school that I gravitated towards.
That was sort of the only conversation you'd had about a career, I think, with
Yeah.
your mum or
Yeah.
anything. It was like, it was football.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, but
Soccer.
maybe maybe I would like to do graphic design or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I literally thought you were going to say, and architecture study is 7 years.
Yes.
And so I knew before asking this question, I thought I knew what the answer was going to be.
Yep.
And I was prepared, because 7 years full-time study.
Requires a lot of study, yeah. But if you have to shift that into nighttime study,
It's like
longer.
I knew that we could be like 10 years deep into study and having very little income.
yeah.
And that I would potentially have to go and work full time and all these things. And I knew that, but you were so miserable that I was like,
Yeah. And so
Sam, take every roadblock out of it. What would you want to do?
and what popped out of my mouth
Oh my gosh.
probably shocked you.
Nothing could have prepared me for what you were going to say.
I want to be a YouTuber.
He says, yeah. You
I
were
said,
like,
I wanna be a
you said-
YouTuber.
He goes, you might laugh at this or you might think it's silly, but I think I want to be a YouTuber.
Which can we say, because I established this in the first episode of the podcast, that is so against my nature.
So against his
I
nature.
hate being the center of attention. I don't like having the cameras on
Yeah.
me, and I hate having to I get performance anxiety
Everything about this
with
is
like
against your
sports
nature.
and everything. Yeah.
And I was like, pardon?
Yeah.
But what did I say?
Oh, I was totally expecting you to just be like, come on, okay, seriously. No, what's your actual answer?
Yeah.
Like that's what I was totally expecting.
And I was like,
You were
do
like,
it.
yeah, you were just like, cool, do it. You were just like, just do it.
Just do it.
And I was like, okay.
And I was
I'll do
like,
it then. And then I kind of explained to you what my brief plan was.
He had this brief idea, and I was like, do it.
I was
do
like,
it.
because, okay, here's the story, okay? For like 2 or 3 years before that conversation took place, because I've always consumed a lot of YouTube. I've always loved YouTube.
Yeah.
For
Me,
many years now.
none.
Yeah, you used to. Yeah, it was nothing.
I was like, what? YouTube? What? You watch things?
And so I always had this plan in my head where, because I started to sort of watch like little brief clips of NFL and things like that in American sports on YouTube.
You've always loved sports. Let's just establish that.
I've always been. I love sports. I mean,
Loves
look,
it.
I'm always wearing like sports gears, like everything. I just love sports.
It's your jam.
And I remember seeing the whole. I was always infatuated with obviously growing up in New Zealand, rugby is king. So massive All Black supporter.
The only sports I ever knew of
love rugby
was rugby.
Yeah, so I absolutely love watching rugby. And then I saw the sport, American football, and I was like seeing a couple little highlights here and there, and I was like, wow, I wonder what the comparison between rugby and American football is. And so I was like, and below each video that I saw was this comment, like this war waging in the comment section. Rugby fans would be like, oh, you guys are like soft. I can't believe you wear pads and helmet. You don't need that. Like, come over to play rugby where you don't have the pads and helmet.
Yeah.
And then the NFL fans would be like, you don't even understand, man, because you're running like full speed at each other. Where rugby, you're kind of like not even doing that.
You're just like the odd tackle.
Yeah, you're doing the odd tackle, and it's not as like high speed, high intensity as American football.
Right.
So I was like, my mind was just being blown. I was like, whoa. I mean, like, who do I side with? Do I stay true to rugby, or do I follow American football and be like, that's insane what these guys are doing? And so in my head, I was like, you know what? I would love to be the first guy to discover American football from the perspective of a rugby fan, but come at it with like a neutral, sort of unbiased opinion.
And I guess your journey of learning about American football.
This is where it all started.
That's where it all started.
That's where Your New Zealand Family, basically, that was the conception of Your New Zealand Family too.
So basically, he starts a channel called
Kiwi Kicker.
Kiwi Kicker. So this is like in the depths of despair. And I remember you said to me, I think that you can get paid doing this.
I had no idea how much you could earn
but
on
had
YouTube.
no idea.
Zero. Nothing. So can I just say, I have to give props. So this was probably only a month or two before we had this conversation about you asking me what I want to do.
Yeah.
I saw a channel pop up.
Yeah.
Jacob McDonald popped up, and he called his videos Rugby Player Reacts to American Football for the first time.
Yeah.
And he was reacting to all, Tom Brady, all the big players, big names, big games. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, this guy. Okay, first of all, I'm not a rugby player, so I could never title it the same as he did.
Yeah.
But I was like, this guy has this is my idea. That's my idea has literally just popped up in front of my eyes.
And he's doing it and doing well.
Yeah. And so I thought, okay, if he's taken Rugby Player Reacts, I'm going to take Rugby Fan Reacts.
Right.
So then I basically went through the whole process of starting up the channel, I got a loan from my mum, from my parents.
Well, here's the thing. You said to me, you were like, I don't know if it can make money and I don't know how much, but this is what I want to do. And I was like, well, okay. Like, could it be like a side hustle, Yeah. And you were like, I don't know. I think it might make like $100 a month. I don't know. No idea. $100 a month is what you told me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
had no idea how to upload a video. Had no idea how to edit a video.
Never started a channel.
No video editing experience whatsoever.
But obviously, being a YouTube consumer, you knew that that people did this as a career.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the extent of what you knew before starting it.
Yeah.
And so it was this great unknown, but I was like, dude, you're so unhappy. And if you're passionate about something, I don't even care how much it makes or if it makes. You need to do this just for your mental health.
Yeah.
And so you knew that to set it up, you needed $2,000 worth of gear.
Yeah. So I got a loan for $2,000 from my parents.
That was a lot of money.
Oh,
it's still a lot of money, but it was like a crazy amount of money. We'd never even saved that before in our lives.
I have to get a camera. I have to get the right laptop. I have to get like little all the little bits and pieces too. I'd like the right stand to hold my. The very first video I had to film on my phone.
Yes,
that I had at the time.
Because you know what?
As a test,
you approached your mum and dad and said, I have this idea. I want to do this thing, but I need $2,000 worth of gear. And we didn't have it, obviously. Yeah. And she was like, okay, just film a video of you doing what you think you're going to do and send it to me. And I'll, I don't know. It was like a test.
It was. She said, look, if you're really serious about this, use whatever camera you have at the moment
Yeah.
and film your first video,
Yeah.
upload it, see how it goes, see what the response is. Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun making it?
Yeah.
And if it's something that you want to do,
Right.
then we can pursue it. The first video I uploaded, I think to this day, is sitting on about 2.4 million views. That was the video that I filmed on my first phone.
I mean, that's insane.
That is insane. So she saw that, the reaction to it, and she's like, yeah,
saw it and she was like, yep.
absolutely. This
And-
is awesome.
Again, not knowing, this is the
Not
other
knowing the
this
future.
is the other God thing as well with this.
Yeah.
You know, is that you borrowed $2,000.
The first payout from YouTube, once I became monetized, was exactly the amount that I borrowed from my parents.
And okay, given that was
It took
over
me a long
couple
time.
of months.
It took me a while to get monetized.
Right, because
but-
it takes a while to be monetized and you have to earn a certain amount to get
Because it builds up in the background.
Right. So it built up in the background, but your first payout was the exact amount of money that you had borrowed.
Yeah, exact. Literally like to the dollar. It might have been like $1 less or $1
I think there was
more.
like $1 or $2. It was insane.
Yeah, and so with that first payment, bang, straight back to my
Straight
parents.
back to your mum.
And
And
but then
dad.
I had all the gear I needed.
So from
And so
there,
it was amazing.
and then your mum came up and put up the curtains, remember?
Yep.
She could like cover the mold
That's right.
and stuff.
Yeah, she
like-
came in and helped me out with
and she
setting
was like,
everything
let's
up.
set up this office and let's just put up curtains and cover the mold in the outside.
Yeah,
It was
I know.
so bad.
Oh man.
But, and that was the start.
Yeah, that was the start of the YouTube journey. And so for about 2.5, 3 years, I was just discovering the sport of American football and beyond. I was
Right.
discovering a whole bunch of American sports.
So
Basketball.
you were about 5. I remember you had your 5th anniversary at your job.
Yeah.
And that was sort of around the time you started your YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
So
fourth
you
or
s-
fifth.
right.
Yeah, 4 or 5, yeah.
it was like a 5-year thing, I think.
Yeah.
And then, so remember that's when COVID hit and you actually didn't work for a long time.
Yeah.
So you were still at the job, but you didn't work for a while because of lockdowns.
Yeah.
And this is when you really went all in
On the YouTube thing.
YouTube
Really started to sort
for
of
Kiwi
like
Kicker.
I started to dig deep on like the back end, the analytics, and like
Yeah.
the strategies and everything that you can take. And then by then I had a pretty good idea of how much you could actually earn on
Right.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, wow, if I did this and if I put that into place, and then
Yeah.
my vision for the next 2 to 3 years, and I was like, wow, man, like this channel could actually do really well.
The
And
thing is when you start a YouTube channel, you're really flying blind.
you are flying
No
blind.
one has
But-
any idea because no one talks about that side of it.
Can I just say how much, like, it truly, the YouTube channel, while I was still working, like before COVID, right, before the COVID thing, it truly is a second job or a full-time job.
Totally.
I would come home and like to go back to you earlier in the podcast, I would be up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, editing videos,
Yeah.
filming things,
Yeah.
you know, trying to get things done, uploading it in the morning.
I guess, you loved it, but
I
there's
did.
a lot of hustle that's involved. Like with
so much
everything,
hustle.
the thing is that, you can love what you do, but it's still going to be a lot of work. Like if you see anyone putting out videos on YouTube, just know that you see a video and behind the scenes,
95% more of the work is behind the scenes.
right, and
Yeah.
and a lot of the gear and everything.
Yeah.
So it's, it's still a lot of work. But, back then as well, a lot of your videos were not monetized.
No, I was literally flying by the seat of my pants. I
Right.
was just like, it was like a lottery.
was a
I
lottery.
would upload one video one morning, and then it would be like, sorry, your money is completely your video is completely demonetized. And then the next one I'd upload is like, no, it would be absolutely fine.
Right.
But it would be highlights from the same sport. So
Right.
I would just like, it would even be sometimes from the same channel. Like if I uploaded highlights from the same channel, one would be fine, one wouldn't be.
So based on that, it was really hard to gauge if you could get any kind of income that you could go full time. And let's not discount the fact that you loved it and
I
you were
loved it.
passionate about it.
Absolutely loved it.
Time of your life, like
Loved it.
know.
Sports, man. I could just watch sports all day.
I mean,
just love it.
like what's
and I,
better?
And
than,
I got to discover all these amazing people, like
Exactly.
Michael Jordan, and just all these incredible players from the past.
and in the NFL and everything.
yeah, in the NFL, like Bo Jackson, like all these amazing
Yeah.
players that I just never even like heard of or seen, and it
Yeah.
was just like mind blowing to think.
Yeah.
I mean, there were guys that were like playing professional baseball and professional American football at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness, that's like my heroes growing up were all soccer players, right?
Yeah.
That's like a soccer player and then just going over and playing like basketball professionally
Yeah.
at the same time. I was like,
Insane.
that would never happen, ever.
So basically you put in a lot of hours. So from this conversation of what would you like to be to, where you started the channel, it meant we saw even less of you because you were working a full-time job.
Yes.
Coming home.
Big sacrifice.
Yeah, editing and making these videos.
Yeah.
And, they were received really well.
They were.
It was doing really well.
amazing.
Not everything brought in, monetization.
Well, I suppose that's where the conversation started, where you asking me, because I explained my frustrations to you about the whole demonetization
It started
thing
to get a
and
bit
the
like
copyright thing,
Yeah.
and it was frustrating because I would be up till like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then all of a sudden it would be demonetized, and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's a bit of a setback, and you'd be like, what can you do to stop that from happening? I was like, you just need to make your own content.
Right. So the thing is that at a certain time, it became like, well, how much can you give to this new venture that's taking away from our family? And it has to be something that brings in, like we have to be able to justify these late nights and the hours away from the family if it can't lead into a new direction, knowing that you were unhappy in your job at that time.
Yeah.
So you became quite disheartened with it because there was no way to gauge if you could make this full time or if you could do this, as a new venture.
Yeah.
And basically it came down to the fact that you probably couldn't, reacting to sports.
Yes.
So much of it
we needed
was-
to have our own content, and that kind of coincided with the second major lockdown,
So
and we shifted out of the house.
So the second major lockdown came and, we're talking pretty recent times. Like now we're coming up to pretty recent times.
Late 2021.
Yeah. We had this house here. We'd been renting it out. We were still renting a really, really bad place in Auckland.
Still living in Auckland.
You were still working a job that you were not very fulfilled in, and you were starting this new venture that was frustratingly not something we could rely on.
It had grown into something that was a lot of fun and respectable, but it just wasn't.
It was taking up a lot of time.
It wasn't reaching the next level to start to justify the amount of time and effort that I was putting into it.
And that was taken away from us as a family.
Yeah.
Weekends, late nights, that sort of thing. Like a lot of time dedicated. And I know that you built like such an amazing fan base, and it did so well, and it was an amazing community that you built there, eh? And you had so much fun learning about stuff.
I loved it. The legends.
Yeah. So then it came to this point where the second major lockdown in New Zealand happened, and we decided we didn't want to ride out that lockdown in that tiny
Alone.
house.
Yeah.
It was not a house that was that safe in terms of, being a healthy home. It had a lot of mold. It was old.
Tiny.
It was on a main road. There was a few incidences with like crashes and the police and stuff like that.
We got robbed.
We didn't feel that safe.
Yeah.
And so the plan was that we were going to build something on my parents' property because they had quite a bit of land.
Yeah.
And they'd bought that sort of a couple of years earlier.
Convert like a garage into like a cottage.
Yeah, so that we could at least have our own space, you know? And so we decided to move in to my parents' house.
With the in-laws.
Yeah. Just to get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
And basically that was during a lockdown, and we moved in there, and that's where we sort of...
Things didn't work out.
It didn't work out.
At all. It didn't work out at all. I just think for everybody involved, it just turned out to be a time that probably, wasn't the most enjoyable, but I think it was... I mean, even to this day, I'm still so grateful. I'm literally grateful for everything. I'm grateful for the bad times that I had at the company that I worked for. I'm grateful for the difficult times we experienced living with your parents.
Yeah.
Because it really has led us all to this moment. And I would not ask
100%.
for anything different. And I'm so grateful that we got to do that.
Oh my gosh.
But because the desperation that we had living with your parents, like the place that it took us to, it made us sit back and think. And also, let's not forget that this was around the time that Atlanta started to watch a lot of YouTube. Watch a lot of family channels. And so she started to, she was the little sort of like voice on the side that said, guys, I know these really cool family channels.
We should start a family channel.
And they do all these cool challenges, and they make all these fun videos, and they're just together as a family, and they just all day, they just spend time like making videos.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And so we were like, and every time, like, okay, yeah, Atlanta, cool. Yeah, okay.
So basically,
let the adults talk.
We'd given up our rental. We'd gone in to live with my parents. We were intending on building something on the property,
never really got off the ground.
It just wasn't getting started, you know. And time was going by. My parents' house. Let's not forget that it's a massive house. We had our own space,
Big sort of farmhouse.
big farmhouse. We had our own space upstairs, own bathroom, things like that. It wasn't, cramped by any stretch.
But lockdowns.
But lockdowns
brings everybody closer together.
Yeah. And,
Little too close.
we just realized, if you've been like, for me particularly, I was 17 when I left home. I hadn't lived at home since then. Yeah. And then when you move home with a family. Yeah. It's different. Yeah. And it's not okay for everyone involved. Like it wasn't enjoyable for them. It wasn't joy. It's just not a good situation.
No. And also it's hard being a man shifting into underneath the rules
and the roof of
or
another.
The leadership of another man.
Right.
And you're trying to lead your own family.
Right.
So that's another
it just doesn't work.
Yeah, intricate layer.
I just think it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something we were doing long term. Like we weren't meaning to go there and live there in their house. It was like we were meant to go there.
And get our separate living situation.
We were meant to be living in our separate situation. But because of the lockdown and us not wanting to stay where we were, we moved early. And I think, it brought on some pretty desperate times. Yeah,
well, let's just say that we had some pretty candid conversations about because of my Kiwi Kicker channel, and that being in the background, we were like, you kept asking me the question, like, how can your channel support us and make us independent?
Because all we were thinking of was, this isn't working here. We've given up our rental. The country's in lockdown. How can we get to our own house? Yeah. Our own house being here in Taupo. Yeah.
We just wanted our own living space.
We were like, how can we get there? Your job is in Auckland. How can we get to our own house and live there?
So with Atlanta's little voice in the background.
She was like, we should start a family channel.
She wanted to start a whole, because that paired with the fact that you were saying, how can you become independent on YouTube? And I was like, you have to have your own content. Yeah, you can't just purely be reacting to things
because it gets demonetized.
Because you're at the mercy of whatever copyright law or copyright claim that person has,
or
right?
even copyright blocked entirely.
So as Atlanta started sort of talking to us more and more about the whole family dynamic, and we were like, okay, we were
so desperate
that we got to the point where, like, you know what, Atlanta, let's just do it. Let's do what you want to do. We'll do the family channel.
Having that conversation, we were like, maybe we should just do it.
Yeah.
Should we just do it?
And
you said to me, you were like, it takes years to be monetized. Yes. Are you willing to do years? Yeah. Are you willing to go into this and do years of hard work before getting anywhere? Because it takes so long to get a channel off the ground.
The desperation
and I was like,
enough.
I just will do anything to be able to live in our own house, have our own space. Yep. And just to be able to support ourselves, knowing as well that if we moved into this house, we could take on boarders. We could take on people to help us pay the bills.
Yes.
Because it's big enough house that we've got spaces that we can take on boarders.
Yep.
And which we did.
That was that whole point in our lives rolled right up to around about Christmas time, January, which is our summertime, which is when we shoot off to go for a holiday, camping trips,
so
everything like that.
It was 2020 to 2021.
Yep. And so we made the plan. Okay, let's use the camera and the equipment that I've got from my channel to start a family channel when we go away on our camping trip. So if you guys know the OG intro videos that we had in the tent.
If you're watching this, go to Your New Zealand Family and go back and
the
watch
original
the
videos.
First few videos, and all of this will make sense.
Our camping trip.
We never intended for the channel to go where it's gone, right?
No.
It was you guys that led us to where we are right now.
Yeah. I mean, we did so we did the 2 holiday things, right? We did the Lake of Coke. We did our camping trip, right?
We also did like a challenge.
We called it First Ever Vlog. Yeah. And then Eat It or Wear It. That came third.
Yeah.
And then the fourth, I think it's the fourth video, is when I had the idea of like, you know what, guys? Since we're a family, and since my channel consisted of me being a New Zealander reacting to American stuff, I was like, how can I turn that into something on our family channel? I said, you know what? Let's go out and buy some American snacks and try them as a family together.
Also, the thing is that you knew that there was an audience that loved this. And that's the thing with YouTube, is you're always going to go where your audience loves. That's the nature of it. It's like you're providing content. It's not necessarily about, anything other than what do people want to see? Yeah. And so you're providing things that people want to see. It's just... It's so simple.
You want to be interesting and entertaining.
So our whole channel was led by what people wanted to see. And we had no idea that it was going to go where it went.
No. So that snacks video took off. That was our first taste. That was our first taste of like, whoa.
Yeah. We were like, So this is what people want to see.
That's the winning recipe.
This is what's intriguing.
Yep.
This is what's intriguing is us trying things from other countries.
And so that was basically after that video popped off. I basically went to my work, and that's when we hatched up the plan. We said, look, we're gonna do. I'm gonna work part time. So I shifted my hours right down to like half. I did like 3 days a week instead of 5.
I remember it was a pretty desperate conversation. You were like, our living situation is not working.
Yeah. So I basically went down from 3 days working in Auckland, and we didn't evict the tenants, but we basically just we freed up the house, our own house in Taupo here. So we shifted in as a family, and I would get up in the morning on Monday morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning, drive all the way to Auckland, work and stay. Still, I had to go back and stay at the your parents' place.
Yeah,
I built. We had like a little shack out the back,
a little shed,
a little office.
Yeah,
and I would just pop a mattress in there.
2 nights.
Yeah,
Monday night, Tuesday night.
Back Wednesday evening.
You would work Wednesday. You would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you would come home on Wednesday evening.
YouTube Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Sunday off.
Yeah.
That was life.
That was the hustle.
And our channel started to do so well.
So quickly.
And you guys were just so incredible with your support.
You guys were loving it. And we were like, oh my gosh, can we really make this work?
Even to the point where I was able to leave my job much earlier than when I had agreed to leave.
Yeah,
I had agreed to leave in December.
At the end of the year.
And it was like August, and we were like, oh, I could just leave now. I decided to honor what I said I would do. And so I still stayed at my job until the end of December. Was that 2021?
Yeah.
December 2021.
Yeah.
And so, I left my job in December 2021. That time rolled around, and then I didn't have to commute anymore, and it's been like that ever since.
And we still have our border in our house.
We still have an apartment.
You know, we're still hustling behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
With things to make ends meet. But
improving the house and...
Yeah, all sorts of things. But like, really, the real reason we started our family channel was out of a very desperate situation.
Very desperate. And we just wanted independence. We just wanted our own lives. We just wanted to forge our own path.
We'd never lived in our own house.
No, never. Always renting or always taking help from family.
We were always like on top of someone's workplace, underneath someone's house, in someone's rental that we got kicked out of.
Always felt like a bit of a burden.
We wanted...
Kicked out on Christmas Day, can I add?
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, we had to leave. We had to get out of our place.
Because we trimmed a tree.
Yeah, because we cut a few branches off a tree that we weren't supposed to touch.
You know, we just were so desperate for our own space.
We were sick of filling other people's pockets, and we were sick of being at the mercy of like every little emotion that they had towards us.
Yeah.
And we were just like, no, we're done.
We want to pave our own way.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, YouTube was really that for us.
Oh, YouTube is just such a godsend.
You guys.
Yeah, you guys. All the support, because let's face it, you can still go onto YouTube.
You can create a video, but without you guys.
Yeah, without the viewers. So we just have to say, I know it sounds cliche, but I mean, without you guys, we'd be nothing.
Oh my gosh.
We'd be back in like a pretty horrible living situation, trying to claw our way.
I think, you know, people can come in at this part of our journey and see us, and, you know, we're so blessed to be, you know, planning this travel and, you know, renovating our house and things, and think that we've come from, you know, a situation that was ideal, but we did not.
No.
You know, we were just so desperate. And let's just say we didn't have any financial help from either of our families. And, you know, there's something to be said for that in this time.
Yeah, we came from the bottom of the barrel.
We really did. And, you know, 22 years old, our first child, not married yet.
Yeah, not planned either.
You know, we're just so grateful. I'll never not be grateful.
I know. To think where we came from is just unreal.
It's been a journey.
In that time span.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, guys, I mean, you just having... I never would have imagined. I got a little taste of it with the Kiwi Kicker channel,
100%,
and the support that I was getting.
Do you know what? And the thing with the Kiwi Kicker, remember that your car couldn't get a warrant anymore.
Yes,
this is something as well.
That's right. Yes,
it was growing moss. Your boss even told you at that job.
A little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, you were like a little bit embarrassing for your car to be here with moss growing on the side of it when they were all driving Audis and, you know, all the really, really nice cars.
Yeah,
Sam would turn up in this thing. There was a hole in the exhaust.
Oh, I know,
and it was so loud.
It was embarrassing. It was a bomb. It was a complete lemon. It was.
It was a good car.
Oh, for 11 years, it got me from A to B. It got me where I needed to go.
There was at the end there was no support in the seat. You were
Yeah.
getting like a sore back.
There was-
you were
but-
sitting in traffic for 2 hours.
Yeah, but it basically just wasn't a car by the end of it. And
So-
and I ended up my best ever month on Kiwi Kicker.
Yeah.
I was able to go out and purchase a new car.
Right.
Like
Not even a flash car, but
not
just
an
a new
amazing car.
Yeah.
It was actually the same make and same model, but just a few years later.
Yeah.
So I had like
I still drive that car.
I had like a 1996.
Yeah, it's my
Subaru
car now.
Impreza.
Yeah.
No, and then I went out and bought a 2010
Yeah.
Subaru Impreza
Yeah.
to replace it.
No.
Yeah, because I just knew I know that brand.
And then he gave it to me when he bought a flash
Yeah.
new car. But,
Bought a
you know,
Raptor.
Well, I'll have it. No, it's fine. It's a good car.
Yeah.
It's a good car. But that was Kiwi Kicker.
No,
that
there's
was
been-
if you were a Kiwi Kicker subscriber, that was you.
Yeah, there's been so many milestones with YouTube. It's just
So
been
many
incredible. I
milestones.
mean, YouTube has allowed us to live in our own home, get a new car and like just
Provide for our kids.
travel.
Yeah.
And most importantly is literally expand our family from, 5 people, including Kylo, 5 to over 330,000.
And the thing is, you guys seem to love the content. We love creating the content.
Yeah. Your
It's
your
like-
comments are like literally like our life
I know.
source. Like we're just reading them. It's just so amazing.
It's incredible. And, obviously there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, but we're just so happy.
Yeah, opening up all the packages and just reading all your
So-
notes, and
Honestly,
it's just
yeah,
the best. It's
it
so
is.
touching.
It is.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It's
And
like it's like beyond our wildest dreams.
it really is.
Right?
It's still got a little bit of imposter syndrome, eh?
It really
like
does.
we'll wake up one day and just be like, okay, that was a weird dream.
You're like, did that really happen?
Yeah.
Did that many people really know us? And
Yeah.
I guess things like, appearing on our national television,
Yeah.
being invited to VidCon.
Yeah. But just
It's just us.
can we just recognize that we're just from little old New Zealand?
Oh,
We're not even like
that.
American citizens.
We've been
We're
we've been struggling to get ahead almost our entire marriage.
Yeah.
Haven't lived in our own place, always lived in rentals,
Always-
but we're dreamers. Like we've always,
Yeah.
like we always knew that
Always knew there was more.
there was more.
There was more to life.
Yeah.
And we had to go out and grab the life by the horns.
And it took work, took hustle.
Yep.
We started from nothing. We didn't know where it was going to go, but
Major
we're
hustle
just
with fitted sheets in the back end of a laundry and like just making do with whatever tiny little space you had.
Oh my
but
gosh.
Anyway, I would not do anything differently.
No.
It was just the absolute best. And
Yeah.
that's basically our whole professional career in a nutshell.
in a nutshell. Nothing
And-
special, nothing amazing, but that's the real reason we started YouTube.
Yeah, this is the
It came
truth.
from one conversation on
It's
the
all raw.
couch
Yeah.
where you were beside yourself, and I literally was not expecting that answer.
I think I want to be a YouTuber.
It's like, do it.
Yeah. And that's why we're here today. That's why you guys are watching now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a journey, eh?
I know. Like, can I just say that, like, again, I mentioned this earlier, but for someone who is not supposed to be a YouTuber, like, doesn't like being a center of attention, doesn't like people, like, focused on.
The boy whose mum was like in charge
Yeah,
on
in the
set
movies.
and wouldn't go
Yeah.
in the movies.
I
Sam,
refused.
would you like to be,
An
would you like
extra.
to play a small part in this movie that's going to be worldwide? No way.
Yeah, nah, you're not going to get me in front of camera. No,
Never.
I had so many opportunities. My mum was like, you could even just be like a little cloud that like dances along in the background.
You could just be and he's like, nah, not
Nah,
doing it.
not
Hate
doing
it.
it.
And from the guy that, during our wedding vows, your lip.
Oh yeah, I got like like nervous like lip quivers and everything like that.
He was like, and I like not wanting to be in front of people.
No.
And here you are.
Yeah,
A
I don't know.
YouTuber.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy the way that life works.
Crazy.
Anyway, here we are, and I gotta say, yeah, over an hour and a half for this one.
Okay, we went a little overtime.
Slightly longer than our last one,
Yeah.
our first episode, but we hope you guys found this one as enjoyable and as relatable.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear about your guys' stories in the comments.
Yeah.
As we always do. Like, I mean, in the first one, I mean, ranging from your own personal experiences to concern for my health to,
Yeah.
tips and advice and everything like that. I mean, you guys had a lot to say and we loved it all.
Tell us about your hustle. Tell us about,
Yep.
where you started and where you are now.
Yeah.
And the, the hard work that goes behind all
Tell
of
us
that.
about your professional history,
Yeah.
your jobs that you've been through, that you've worked on.
Yeah.
And just, because everybody's got a story
Yeah.
and we love it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And hustle always pays off. That's what I always
Yes,
say.
hard work.
Like this is the other thing. In closing, there's a lot of people that I know now that are going through stuff where they know they've had to sacrifice a lot. So they're like, oh, I have to live here and I have to, give up that. But, hustle always pays off.
It does.
Always pays off. We lived in some very unideal situations.
Yep.
And you know what? You guys have seen our house. It's still not that ideal. We're still dealing with,
it's pretty
renovations and, it's not a flash out. We're not flash.
No, we're not flash.
We're not flash.
But we're happy.
But we're so happy.
We're content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hustle pays off, guys.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
That's the motto of the story.
It really is.
That's the message for today's
That's the message. And
episode.
If you have a great idea, just do it.
Yep.
Just do it.
Just like I said, I had that one idea and then it just took one question asked, what do you want to do?
What do you want to do?
Well, I have this idea. Crazy idea, but let's see what it, and then it takes support, it takes teamwork, Fine. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that was episode 2. We hope you enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
We can't wait to see you again in episode 3.
Chat some more.
We
don't even know what episode 3 is going to be.
We don't know because there's too many things to talk about. We've actually got so many plans for different episodes that we can't decide which one to put next.
Yeah.
So I think we might do a little a pre sort of introduction to our America trip.
Maybe
and our thoughts and feelings.
That's the thing, is that should I talk about because I've never traveled.
Yeah.
I'm very
well. That's going to be interesting because I have traveled and you haven't. And so
maybe
what to expect versus what to
are my
expect.
expectations?
Yeah. I'd like to hear what you have to say on that.
Really?
Hope you guys do too.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed that one, make sure you do all the usual stuff like smash the like button. And as of course, you know that this is a brand new channel. So if you could share the video, I mean, the response from our last one was just unbelievable. So much more than we expected.
Yeah.
And that's all because of you guys and the, the support that you guys give us. So make sure you share it as well with family or friends. We've listened to a lot of podcasts lately.
Yeah, we have.
Chuck them on in the background.
If you follow Instagram, you'll be knowing that we're painting
the rooms.
Together. Podcasts are going. Also, if you were here from the Kiwi Kicker days, if you were an OG, if you could tell us what Sam's subscribership was like when you first joined and what was happening back in those days. If you remember the room, drop us a comment.
And what was your favorite Kiwi Kicker video too?
And if you're still here, like on this podcast, on this new channel, and you've come all the way from there,
yeah,
you're a real one.
Yeah, you're an OG.
An OG.
And also make sure you guys subscribe. And we love you guys, and we'll see you in episode 3. Bye.
Bye.